as we have spawning in the top right position of the map. He has been picked up by the Shopify Rebellion. He is BYUN. And his opponent down here in the bottom left side, representing Team NV. Had a lot of members of Team NV playing today. He is Creator. Now, we all know the kind of player that BYUN is. I think Creator is one of the few players that kind of can go chop for chop in terms of how aggressive he can be in that mid-game situation, which is really where BYUN as a Terran player lives. Once he gets up to around 2 bases, 3 bases, and starts to get that production rolling, that it really becomes difficult to stop that forward momentum. But if you can stop him, if you can hold him back, if you can kind of cut the production, that's how you beat him. And that's really what Creator's gonna have to do here. We'll have to see how he's gonna decide to do so, as so far nothing too crazy. Just gonna get that shield battery for the defense. We have an adept coming on out, which tells me that he is banking up a little bit of gas. So I'm thinking Stargate, as these guys are getting a pretty big banter going on each other. And there we go. It's not going to be Stargate. It is indeed going to be the Twilight Council. So that kind of tells me that he does want to play it a little bit safe. But the thing about Twilight Council is it can be very aggressive as well. Remember the 2 or 3 gateway drop. That's going to tell us whether it's defensive or offensive. On BYUN's side of thing, he is just going straight up for a 3-rag, so that's kind of the weak point of, excuse me, it's the weakness against Twilight Council, because versus stuff like Blink, it's difficult to kill without any sort of splash damage. It's very hard to hold on as the Stalkers are blinking around. You don't really have a lot of Marauders. You don't really have any siege tanks. So you just have to be very careful, and you're forced into a really defensive spot as the Terran player. Now, luckily for him, he has held that information back, and he is keeping Creator completely in the dark. Meaning that Creator still doesn't know that this is the case. But you know what? I think Creator definitely knows that something is up. You know, he probably just has that little bit of a star sense. So we will have to see if he can hold on against this first big attack from BYUN. The Robo facility is down, so we can start warping in Immortals relatively soon. Maybe even get a Prism or 2 to help him micro this. But now the Adept, I think it gets a little glimpse of that army, so he knows what's coming his way, instantly drops the Robo Bay. We'll be transitioning into Colossus or Disruptor production. Yeah, you pretty much need something to kind of soak up some of those hits, as Stim is complete. Combat Shields, I think, has finished up already. It has indeed. So these are some beefy Marines. They've got that shield. Bearing the Rainer's Raider, and here we go. Stim. The first Stim has come on in. Keep in mind, he has no healing with this, so he's got to do a lot with this army right now, and he is. Some humongous pickoffs here with these forces, getting rid of those shield battery in the front. As long as he can fight around this location, he's going to be able to clean up a lot of this army, but the question is, was that enough? The answer is, I don't think he really cares, as he's already got the next wave raring to go. And yeah, I mean, Creator is going to start to kind of get that critical mass he needs to defend against this. He's got his first Colossi out, and so as time goes on, BYUN is really going to have to not be so aggressive with this. He stims very early with this attack, so not really able to get a lot done with it, unfortunately. Sees the Colossus and instantly just backs on out with one Marine as the sacrifice. Now taking a look at it, BYUN does want to go up to a third base. He's not sticking with two bases. Gonna go for siege tanks, which is an interesting choice for this stage of the game. Usually siege tanks start to lose a bit of utility as your opponent transitions into charge lots, into things that kind of just force the tanks to do a lot of friendly fire splash damage. So it's interesting to see. Although Creator, to his credit, is not building any zealots yet. He's still building up that stalker count so that he can kind of crush any sort of drop play, like the one that is coming in right now straight for his main base. Now the Stalkers are out of position for this, so he's just going to go straight for the Forged in 9+1 attack. That is such a nice pickoff for him. Going to get a couple of pylons on the way out. It even is going to survive with that medevac there. That is really good damage for BYUN. Looks like he did want to go for a bit of an attack on the natural at the same time, but is forced back. Now keep in mind, with all of this, BYUN still has full-on map control, as Creator needs to play it out defensively. If he moves out a little bit too far, he's just going to get absolutely demolished by this army. So he's got to build up that Colossus count a little bit more. He's got to tech up a little bit harder, and that's just so much more difficult with the fact that he's going to be down 2 upgrades. Force fields are pretty good. Gonna divvy up this army a little bit. Creator getting a little bit of a better concave as well. The siege tank is gonna be saved, but only for a second. Creator stepping a little bit too far forward, loses a few of his units. BYUN is still kind of rotating around, looking for an opening, a good angle to push his way through. Keep in mind, there are Archons now. There is more kind of beefiness, some tankiness to this army. And he will have that Warp Prism out to give him a hand. You know, at this point, Creator really just needs to slow down this production. As BYUN is on 5 racks. 3 Marauders at a time. Diving on top of a Colossus as well. That is a big pickoff for him here. Creator will be able to force this back. But unfortunately, the biggest thing for Creator is that he's not really killing off any of this army. You know, BYUN, he's engaging, but he's always getting away with a good majority of his forces. And that's really what's giving Creator the biggest problem here, is that he's not given time to kind of rebuild. Who's Han Mono? I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to check that. Prism will be able to make its way in. The Zealots doing what they can. They will get a couple of SCVs before going down. A bit of a pylon situation up here. Okay. Only 2 SCVs. Not the best deal for him here. But I do like this transition. You know what? I think Disruptors are my favorite kind of comeback mechanic for Protoss players. Just because all it takes is one moment where your opponent is not split up, where he is not ready to engage, and that costs him the game very, very hard. BYUN pulls a couple of units back to deal with these Zealots. As we have another run by up here, another run by over there. Ready to go as soon as BYUN moves too far forward. We already have Ghosts in the mix. So those EMPs gonna again just make it difficult for Creator to engage in. Scan going down, revealing that the 4th base is indeed in play. But here we go, getting right on top of the Disruptor. That shot will not finish. Run by. He is starting to do a little bit here. The Storm is whiffing, but he is getting cleaned up by the reinforcements of BYUN, diving right on top of these very expensive units in the natural. It looks like the Disruptors not really paying attention, or they have run out of shots. And losing his production is about as bad as it can get for Creator. He is down half the supply, 50 supply in that army. And BYUN is going to be able to just get out, drop right on top of the 4th base where there's nothing really stopping him. A nice Storm going to clean up a little bit of that drop. But as the scans go down, getting rid of the Dark Templar, the Stalkers will all fall, and that is going to be really BYUN's kind of trigger to say, hey, I am just going to crush through here. You got everything at the natural, you got everything in your main base, you want to warp in over here, you're going to lose everything. As Creator loses his 4th base, I think that's going to be the tap out as he drops below 100 supply. GG is called. In the top left position of Romanticide, give it up for BYUN. And his opponent, down here in the bottom right, he is Creator. Now, I kind of talked about this in an earlier series. Romanticide, obviously a little bit better for defense. And I think that's kind of what Creator's going to be going for in this game as well. Because as he knows that BYUN is kind of going to stick with that aggressive style, it's probably a little bit better for him to kind of just defend, power up, get those huge late game armies. And from there, just kind of try and roll over BYUN with the splash, with the storms, with the disruptors, with pretty much everything that he can throw at him. This time, BYUN is going to be skipping the Reaper once again. Kind of the norm for him, as he doesn't really find a lot of utility in that early game Reaper versus Protoss. A bit of a scrappy battle right there. Looks like he's going to even just kind of play it a little bit safer and go for the CC on the high ground just in case Creator goes for anything aggressive. Which, by the way, Creator is going to be a little bit aggressive here as he's got the proxy pylon ready to go. Looks like it will be oracles. Maybe, I don't think that's going to be a void ray positioning here, but we'll have to see if he does decide to drop down the shield batteries over here. I really wouldn't recommend that, especially not since BYUN is just already has his factory out. He's got the starport ready to go, so he'd just be able to defend that a little bit easier. Adept looking for a couple of quick pickoffs here. Will get the miss micro from BYUN to start things off. The Widowmine gonna burrow at the top of the ramp to try and bait this Adept into a bad decision. I don't know if Creator saw this, but if he did, he's got to be very careful here, since he is going for this kind of costly early game here. 3 Adepts into Oracle. It can do quite a bit of damage, but it also sets you back a little bit in terms of your economy. As silly as it is to say, because you're expending a lot into this push. BYUN catches the Oracle, but also means that this Widowmine drop will not go down. The Adepts make it into the main base. A little bit of a mistake there from BYUN. And now he's going to have to deal with the dancing Adepts. Losing a little bit of mining time on these minerals. Looks like he will be able to... No, actually, he does trap the Adepts. So they are pretty much dead, but... Okay, never mind. I think there's a little bit of a mistake here from Creator, as these Oracles could have been damaging BYUN's economy during all of this, but instead they try and go straight for the Marines, and that is a lot of health gone from the Oracles, which you do want to keep alive, by the way. BYUN looks like he's gearing up for a push, as he will be dropping down those siege tanks, which does kind of tell me, yeah, this is more than likely going to be a push relatively soon. Creator going up to his third base. Nothing too unexpected here. Mines do get dropped, but they don't really find any of the probes, and now that medevac will get crushed. Revelation as well, going to get rid of the Widow Mines. So overall, Creator is doing a much better job of kind of mitigating any sort of early game damage this time. BYUN just not really able to get in there and do what he's known best for. Like Stim has started +1 attack as well, so both sides kind of just powering up, getting ready for the mid game. Again, we really shouldn't see these guys moving out for the next minute or so. We do have 6 gateways on the way for Creator. I came for SOS, but I wouldn't mind seeing Creator win here. You know what? Like, don't worry if you missed any of the games. They will be on our YouTube, and I think the VOD will go live right after the match. So be prepared for that. Now the Oracles are getting ready. They are getting set to move in. But I think Creator really does want to see the immensity of this army. Creator does have the supply lead, but that can be very deceiving at this stage in the game. He does see that there is no third base, however, so that is a pretty big alarm bell ringing for him. Scan gonna go down on the natural, revealing the fact that there are gonna be immortals in play. He doesn't know if there's a robo bait just yet. The missile turrets gonna shoo away the oracles for the time being, but they still will get quite a few kills. The Viking, though, gonna hunt them down. At least one of them will die. Alright, so not getting as much damage as he wanted, but he does get rid of one of those oracles, which does mean the less propensity for a stasis trap out on the other side. We do have a Templar Archives on the way and charge, so that's going to help him on the defense. He just needs to hold on long enough for them to finish. Got one siege tank in the back. He scans the top of the ramp, sees the trap, so he will not fall for it. The siege tank gets one volley off, and Creator has to allow him to the high ground. He cannot afford to keep him any lower. The Void Rays, excuse me, Whittle Mines coming on in, trying to bait the shot with the Phoenix, but BYUN is out for blood. He gets rid of the shield battery overcharge. Creator just can't really engage this while his units are coated in Dorito dust. The Oracle's going to be coming in here. A good concave for Creator, though. Should be enough to finish things off, but BYUN is going to make it a very Pyrrhic victory for him. Blink saves the rest of the Stalkers here, and now BYUN. Looks like he still wants to stay aggressive, but as time goes on, Creator is just going to be able to overwhelm him with the amount of units he has. Good Blink Micro, going to keep a lot of these Stalkers alive. BYUN will have to retreat here. He just does not have enough army to keep this attack rolling. Even with the reinforcements, it's going to be really difficult to break Creator on 3 bases. So now Creator trying to secure this 4th base. We do have a pretty big Stalker run by looking to pick off the reinforcements. I really hope that's not going to hurt him in this fight, because that is a good chunk of his army away from the field. A couple of pickoffs here going to save those High Templars. One storm is not enough, though. BYUN just kind of trying to bait him back into the Widow Mine. That stasis trap is getting dangerously close to this army. Zealots do make their way in, but they're not really going to get too much done. Storm does drop, and that is enough to push BYUN off this position, but he is nowhere near done yet. Creator's starting to run out of storm energy, but just barely enough. The Stalkers! Oh my goodness, BYUN almost losing a good chunk of his army right there. But still, BYUN is pushing. He is still trying to trade out. He is forcing Creator into a position where he's just got to build army after army or risk being overwhelmed. That's how BYUN tries to kill you. He trades, and if he can get those efficient trades, it just becomes a little bit too much. I mean, taking a look at it, he already is 1,000 minerals ahead in terms of those trades. Even getting rid of the Observer so that his Widow Mines live to fight another day. Creator's still searching for this army. He wants a couple of good pickoffs here, but BYUN just going to go straight for the natural, bypassing the army entirely. That's just an Observer being made a forced recall. Unfortunately, BYUN doesn't really get as much damage as he might like. He does get a little bit done with the Widow Mines. And they're now just going to keep rotating between these 2 locations, the natural and the 4th, as the Stalkers do have to walk all the way back. Looks like the Liberator getting a couple of kills in the third. And the main base cleared out a little bit. So BYUN just trying to pull Creator's army as far out of position as possible, but costs him a full medevac. Full of units. The counterattack from Creator does get caught. Gotta be careful with these Immortals. That's pretty much the main bulk of his firepower. Beautiful pickup right there for Creator. This is a really, really scrappy game. Honestly, I can't tell who's ahead. Like, BYUN has done a really good job of kind of just staying aggressive and keeping Creator off these high-tier, high-tech units. But now that Creator has kind of stopped that forward momentum, like I keep saying, BYUN needs that forward momentum. Gonna catch the medevac here. That's a nice pickoff. Just takes away one of the things that he has to worry about here as BYUN getting ready once again for another big push. This time he does have a ghost with this army, but the disruptor ball will force it away. Just trying to buy himself a little bit of time before he absolutely has to fight EMP on the shield battery. Again, though, just has to be really careful as to how he engages this. He needs to get a good concave. The Stalkers, very aggressive blink forward, and that is going to be a very costly blink for him. Also keeping a couple of Widow Mines back, just making sure that Creator can't move any further forward. Breaking up the rock walls, making sure that he has another angle of attack. It's a huge run by Creator, but he's left his Nexus wide open. And Disruptor Balls not gonna go far enough, but they do kind of keep this army back for now. He's got one more ready. Okay, concave overall here, but oh my goodness. One big Disruptor Ball. Gonna hit a lot of this army, but the Ghosts in the backfield gonna get rid of all of these Immortals, the Disruptors. Only one left. With this force, he does not have the energy to storm, so he is out of AOA. He is out of splash. And these Archons, they're not gonna finish, so he has to fight this with only gateway units. And a couple of Colossus. He can't really afford too many more of them, as you can kind of see by his income. Now back at home, BYUN is dealing with a very big run by here, so that's giving him a lot of trouble. But at the end of the day, the reinforcements will be enough to kind of clean that out. The Zealots have to retreat here. Creator only on 3 bases to the 4 of BYUN. Now we see the supplies kind of dipping here for Creator. 111 to 159. Only a 50 army supply difference. And that can be deceptive. Remember, that's mostly in these Colossus, in these Disruptors. You definitely need a lot to tank for those in the front if you want to take a good engagement. By themselves, they really can't fight this. That run by going to get caught by the Widow Mines as well, so that's a couple of dead Zealots. The Stalkers getting pincered here, so that is a big loss for Creator. And now, having to defend on both fronts. Does he have the ability to do so? Colossus on one side doing what they can. Disruptors forcing the bulk of this army to the natural. On the other side of things, BYUN has retreated with the rest of his army, so he's not fighting at full strength, but he is still able to get some very big pickoffs here. Just lifts on up. That is going to be it. BYUN takes the game and he takes the series.